Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet Tina on YouTube. And I just wanted to thank everyone for, supporting here, following my channel, subscribe, like, and share my videos. I really, really want to thank you, all of you, for doing that. And for those who are new, please do not forget to subscribe. Do it right now. Or click like and then, share my videos that resonate with you. And just from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. So today I got a dear friend of mine, Carole Neary. She's going to be sharing with us on homeopath remedy, healing with the homeopath. I've always been intrigued in this topic, but never I get into it. And so I brought her on just to share with us exactly why people should take it, why people should come to her. Carole, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Beautiful.
Tina.
I know Carole, like, God, a long time, 12 years maybe, and she's just so knowledgeable. This lady, she just got so many education under her belt. Not only that, her heart, beautiful. She's beautiful. So that's why I brought her on to share her energy with everyone, so let's dive into it, Carole. Whatever you want to share with the audience, go with that.
Well, first, I want everybody to be clear. I'm not a licensed doctor. I'm a homeopathic practitioner. And homeopathy is a medical art. It's very different from allopathic medicine, which most people call Western medicine. I worked in that field for 34 years. And during that time, I learned about homeopathy. And I couldn't even believe that I had never heard of it before because it was amazing. So I'd like to just tell everybody a little bit about homeopathy and what it is.
Yes.
First, maybe how I came to be a homeopathic practitioner, and even share some of the results that I've seen in practice. I've been practicing now. I started studying homeopathy back in, I think it was like 1985, 84, 85.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is when nobody knew about this topic at all.
Well, not that many people did.
No.
At least in this country. And of course, probably most of your listeners know how the pharmaceutical companies have really pushed out alternative medicines here. And so we have very different medical culture. But just want to repeat, I am not a licensed doctor and do not claim to be. So
I still call her doctor, but not in a medical way. But of course, she's a healer. That's what we call. Yeah.
So homeopathy means same symptoms. And the basis of homeopathy is that the same medication that causes, or an herb or whatever, but a homeopathic remedy that causes those symptoms in a healthy person will heal the same symptoms in a sick person. That was like a brain twister for me there. As I said, I had never heard of homeopathy. I was originally, I went to UCLA for my undergraduate work in Northern California, and I kind of had heard about homeopathy at the time because there were a lot of practitioners up there. And then I went to UCLA and I got a master's degree and became a librarian at UCLA, which really did not suit my personality at all. I went through a lot of things at that time, and I decided to go to work in the pharmaceutical industry. So first I worked in research and development for a big conglomeration of pharmaceutical companies. And then I worked in sales. I worked in sales training. I worked in marketing. I was marketing manager, and just did a bunch of stuff. Institutional sales, managed care, account sales, just all kinds of stuff. But so right before I started working in homeopathy, before I started working in pharmaceuticals, I had just started working in my first job. And I was going to the biomedical library at UCLA looking for information for a project that I was working on. And I had recently been having some health problems. I was having very bizarre reactions to foods. I thought that I was losing my mind. And so I found finally an allergist who was somebody who worked with our company. And he told me that what I was having was a reaction to any kind of food that was fermented or cultured. And it's called a problem with degraded amines. There is a name for it, but I don't remember. So when I was out at UCLA, I decided I would stay later and do some research. And surprisingly, for this condition that I was told was incurable, I found a gazillion citations in medical journals, homeopathic medical journals in English and other languages, that talked about ways to cure this problem. So I was fascinated. I started reading all the journals that were in English, and I just couldn't believe how easy it was to cure this condition that I had been told I had. So I began studying homeopathy intensely at that point. That was in 1984. And I really just fell in love with it. I used it to help friends, and when I had children, to help my kids. I mean, nobody wants to give their kids drugs that are going to ruin their liver and other horrible things, cause autism or whatever. And so homeopathy was wonderful. And so finally, about 20 years ago, I decided I was going to leave the pharmaceutical industry. And I discovered at that time that California had become a medical freedom state, and there were actually homeopathy schools similar to schools for traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture or chiropractic. So I checked out a bunch of schools and decided to go to one in San Diego that had a 3-year program with a clinic. And I did that and began practicing. And I was so happy to see that I was seeing so-called miracles in my practice that other people had written about. It was really tremendous.
Wow.
And then I spent another 6 years studying. I do other 3-year programs and became involved at a national level with homeopathy. I was on the education committee for the National Center for Homeopathy, and I authored a book that I'm hoping will be published very soon about using homeopathy for treating seasonal allergies. And I started a book based on my own practice. When I opened my practice in Southern California, I was planning to focus on working with people who had neurological conditions or diseases, brain injuries, and that type of thing. In fact, there's a national organization of neurologists who recommend that for a traumatic brain injury, homeopathy is the first line of treatment. So I was pretty excited about that. Now, my husband and I were both avid cyclists and competitive athletes. And so we were just involved in that community. And I discovered that cyclists have a very high incidence of traumatic brain injury. So it only made sense that
Wow.
I started working with cyclists. And I actually became the team homeopath for 5 cycling teams. Both, they were all competitive teams, and one was a professional team. So I treated lots of all kinds of injuries, not just
Wow.
broken bones, but all kinds of other things, weird stuff that
Wow.
you've never heard comes from death. So
Carol, I have some question here. What's the difference between homeopath and Chinese medicine? Because you're talking about the school has offered both. Are they different? Because I really believe in Chinese medicine because I grew up with the culture. Yeah.
okay, that's a great question, and I kind of glossed over that. Homeopathy take a substance like an herb, a mineral, animal tissue, and puts it through a process called potentizing that basically breaks it down into nanoparticles, which are little tiny particles of the original substance suspended in a solution, usually alcohol. And each of those particles carries a charge which is unique to that substance. So it's an electrical charge. It can be actually measured, the frequency that's associated with the solution for that particular remedy and a particular potency of that remedy in solution. Each has its own signature. So
Wow.
the little nanoparticles usually are sold as little tiny sugar pellets, ranging from the size of a sugar crystal up to the size of a BB. And they are coated with a few of the nanoparticles, and a specialty pharmacy sells them. And in the pharmacy, it's very important that these remedies are kept in a certain temperature range and not exposed to sunlight or to any kind of radiation, like from a phone or a computer, anything like that, an X-ray machine. And in other countries, these pharmacies are all over the place. In the United States, not so much. We have a few, and they're mostly a mail order business.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It takes forever for Western part of the world to accept this natural remedies that's good for us, right?
Well, it was very common here. It was taught in all of the medical schools until I believe it was the late 20s. And at that time, none of the medical schools received federal funding. They were all privately funded.
Yeah.
And the history of that has to do with the funding. The major grant writer at that time was the Carnegie Foundation, and somebody in the Carnegie Foundation, not going to go into details, but decided that they would no longer fund schools that taught homeopathic medicine in their curriculum.
Well, I know why, because it works, I'm sure. And then this huge pharmaceutical company don't want all this treatment to be out and open and widespread, right? So thanks to someone like you who have studied this and help people with these remedies. So Carole, go back to the allergy symptom that you have had before. And this is so common to people in the United States. Almost everybody have allergies, okay?
Right.
But especially like a lot of people from Asian that I know, before they come here, they don't have any allergies, but when they come here, everybody had allergies. Okay, there's something in the air here.
Mhm.
How would you help your clients or anyone who come to you with this problem? Are there like certain, I mean, I'm sure you have certain remedies. Are they supposed to be taking that all the time? What would you suggest?
Okay, I love that question. First, I want to be clear that if you go to somebody who calls themselves a homeopath, and where I live now, there are a number of people who say they are homeopaths, but they have maybe taken a weekend course or something like that.
No way.
Yeah. And so that is the problem in this country because homeopaths are not licensed. And we are working toward having credentials that are accepted for some type of licensing, but it is a long process. So that is one thing. Number two, if you go to a homeopath and they say they're going to treat your condition X, well, that should set up a red flag because we don't treat specific conditions. What we do is we use our remedies to put your vital force, which is the thing that distinguishes your body from a corpse, put it into balance so that it can heal itself. So that's what our remedies do. If you came to me, Tina, with seasonal allergies, we would sit and talk for a couple hours. And I would want to hear all about your life and the traumas that you experienced in your life, physical symptoms, mental symptoms like cognitive stuff, emotional symptoms, even spiritual stuff. And I would take those, let's say you had 5 main symptoms. I would take those symptoms and look them up through my giant library of books.
You were a librarian before, right? So this should be easy for you to look
right?
up.
So
funny. Yes.
I would look for each of those symptoms that you had and
Mhm.
find the remedies that were common, that all included those symptoms, every single one. And I might come up with, depending on how general your symptoms are, 1,000, or I might come up with 100. And I would look at them, and after practicing for so many years, I'm familiar with most of the remedies. And I can look through there and think, well, she feels more like she's in natrum muriaticum state, which you would be having a lot of mucus discharge that's kind of the consistency of egg white, and you might be a person who's proper and wants things done a certain way, or they kind of snap if it isn't. And whatever other symptoms you had, let's say they just fit into that particular category of symptoms. So then I would also, from your energy level, I would decide, and also how severe the allergies were impacting your functioning, how long you'd had them, different things like that would guide me to choose the potency that would probably help you the best. And so I would have you order from a homeopathic pharmacy, the natrum muriaticum in, let's say, a 30C potency. And when that came, you would take one of the little pellets and put it in a glass of water with like a few drops of vegetable glycerin or distilled alcohol like vodka or gin, and let it dissolve in that, and stir it up, wait like 15 minutes, stir it up again, and take a teaspoonful, hold it in your mouth for like 2 rounds of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then you could swallow it. And so that the energy from that remedy goes through your whole system very rapidly.
Wow.
And depending on how good a match the remedy choice and the potency choice are, you may practically instantly feel relief. And you may never even have to take it again. If it's a little off, you may have to take it a few times, or we may end up having to choose a different remedy for you.
So that come another question that just came up to me. Can the remedies be dangerous or against your body? You know how sometimes some people may be allergic to certain thing, you know, certain substance or certain foods or chemicals.
Right. So a homeopathic remedy, when it goes through that process of potentization, it can be diluted a billion times in a 1:100 ratio or 1:10 ratio. And so it's as long as the potency of the remedy higher than a 12C or a 30X, then it's diluted beyond Avogadro's number, which anybody who's taking chemistry will remember, no matter how long it's been. Avogadro's number is the point at which a substance has been diluted so much there are no molecules of the substance left in the.
Okay.
And what we have then is just an energetic remedy. And
Okay.
so there's no way that is going to affect you in a bad way. And there are no cases of people being injured by homeopathic remedies. There is, I do have to qualify that. There are stories going around that Highland's teething tablets, which are no longer on the market, contained belladonna and it made children sick. Well, it contained the frequency of belladonna, but Highlands did not contain belladonna. However, another company was manufacturing something they called a homeopathic teething pellet, and it had belladonna in it, but it was not made by a pharmacy that was following the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the United States. And so there was belladonna in it and children got sick. So
wow.
when you buy a homeopathic remedy, you want to buy it directly from a homeopathic pharmacy, Standard or Highlands, Boiron, a French company, any homeopathic pharmacy, because they follow the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the United States. And in other countries, the same thing's true. So on the packaging, it will say HPUS, and that is very important. So that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes. Now, speak of children, because I've been wanting to ask about that. You know, I'm sure a lot of listeners are parents, you know. Would you, I know you said it's good for children. Would you recommend for children to take, even though they don't have any illness or symptoms? And at what age can they start taking this? Would you recommend?
From birth. Actually, that's a great question. I work with a lot of women who have been told they cannot have children, and they are often able to conceive after working with me, just with homeopathy alone. Hypnosis.
Wow, you are the fertility lady here. Yeah.
And, you know, it's just all about balancing their vital force so that their body's working the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
And they can use homeopathic remedies in labor to help make the labor go very fast and easy without complications. And they can use the remedies when they're nursing their child. They can use the remedies for their baby. And I'm even trained in a couple of offshoots of homeopathy called cease therapy and homeoprophylaxis, which are really, they're different. We're not matching symptoms exactly the way we are in classical homeopathy, but in homeoprophylaxis, we are using very ultra high potencies of the remedies made from a disease like pertussis, measles, whatever, to stimulate the immune system and to fight immunity against the disease by teaching the body how to process the disease. And so that we do frequently with children, adults too. Cease therapy was developed by a doctor, I believe it was Belgium, Dr. Tina Smith, and it was to help all of these children who were coming into his pediatric practice who were displaying symptoms on the autistic spectrum. And he published a book called Cease, and in it he explains how he developed it and the whole process, and the process has since been refined, so it's much easier and very effective.
So you said they developed this for autistic children?
Yes.
It works without any kind of Western medications.
Right.
Oh my God, this is huge, Carole, because I don't believe that young kids should be taking all those, harmful, strong drugs, because who knows how long it's going to affect all their everything. Now you talk about immune system earlier, and immune system is huge, especially now with the COVID, what's going on. I got a couple questions for you. There's a lot of long haulers who's being affected by COVID, like myself, and affecting their neurological system, the nervous system, also immune system. What can this remedy do? What would you do? Do you have a lot of people coming to you with this, Carole?
A lot.
Wow. Okay,
And
tell me.
So, okay. Actually, one of the cases I was going to tell you about was somebody who came to me with long COVID and was really suffering greatly. She had actually had COVID not once, but several times. Her husband as well. And so they got some relief in taking a homeopathic remedy that fit their symptom profile, but it wasn't quite enough. And so we tried using a homeopathic remedy called a no-code that was made from the COVID itself, and that really, really helped. But what really put them over the hump was I taught them how to make a custom remedy for their own particular body. And I like to do that because it's the ultimate homeopathic remedy for you. Remember, I talked about how we want to match your symptoms, your most important symptoms. Well, when you make a remedy for yourself, you are making a remedy that covers all of your symptoms. And a homeopath doesn't view symptoms as a disease. We view them as your vital force speaking to you and saying, hey, wake up. I need some help.
Exactly.
And that worked really, really well for them.
Wow.
So that's just one example. A lot of people, you know, they may have a mild case and will do something else. But I play around with some other things. I'm sure you've heard of pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. There are some tools that you can purchase at home to help you with relaxation or you know, muscle pain, whatever, that use those frequencies, and they're really effective at knocking out the long COVID too.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Wow. I have some, you know, some of my followers, they all gone through that symptom. Definitely they should know about you. I think this is amazing. Now, Carole, what about for yourself as a therapist? Do you take anything as like a preventative or like for your immune system?
Well, you mean, do I use homeopathy myself?
Of course you do. Yes, yes. I figure you do because that's what your expertise, your work. But like, what do you take? Like, what do you take for yourself? You know, as someone who's want to keep staying, you know, healthy or boost your immune system.
Okay. That's a good question, and it brings up a point that I should have covered, and that is that homeopathy is individualized. So every single person who gets a cold has different stuff going on with their cold. They may have something in common, like congestion, but one person may have congestion with no discharge. Another person may have congestion with avocado green
Yeah.
boogers, you know, or whatever. So everybody treatment has to be individualized. And so just like anybody else, I call my homeopath because how am I going to evaluate my cognitive and emotional symptoms? Not objectively, and it needs to be objectively. So I call her and she helps me to find what I need. But on top of that, nutrition is so important. And the one diet that has been proven over and over and over again since, well, at least the 1950s is a 100% whole food plant-based diet. And that builds up your immune system. It has actually been proven to reverse cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, and no other diet can do that.
So you don't eat any kind of meat?
No.
Just
No
vegetable, plant-based only.
Plant-based only.
Yeah. Okay. And you feel you get enough proteins or not? Because, you know, Carole, I've heard some people said, you know, it's dependent on their blood type, you know, some blood type, you need some meat in your system. Is that true to you?
No, that does not ring true to me. And, you know, I was a competitive athlete for most of my adult life. I actually, my husband and I won the state championship in our league for water skiing in 1997.
Yeah.
A few years after that, I placed third in my age group at the Long Beach Marathon for the inline skate division. I mean, I was a pretty high ranked athlete in short track, marathon distance, inline skating, water skiing, horseback riding. I did that for a lot of my life. And I never, ever had a problem with following a vegan diet in very demanding. Oh, I forgot to say, I also ran marathons and ultra marathons.
Do you still do this?
And the thing is, though, you do need to be careful about your diet. It isn't just protein, you need carbohydrates. And
Yes.
people now think that carbohydrates are bad, but refined sugars, refined starches, those are not good food for your body. That's not what nature gave us.
Right.
You need good whole food, plant-based nutrition. And eat, for God's sakes, eat organic foods whenever you can, because there are so many studies coming out showing how harmful all of these pesticides and herbicides are. Research that is incontrovertible, that was performed by an MIT scientist, shows that Roundup, glyphosate, which is in our water, our soil, and everything, is a causative factor in diabetes and cancer and autism. And I'm sure many other things too. So we really need to take care of our bodies so that we stay in balance and then we stay healthy.
So, Carole,
Uh-huh.
how old are you? I mean, you don't mind sharing.
Oh, no, I don't mind. I'm 64 years old.
I know you ride bike. Are you still quite physically active in sports and workout?
Yep. I'm not a competitive athlete anymore.
Doesn't matter.
Being on a team that competes at, regional and national levels, but I do go cycling a lot. That's one of the reasons I love where I live, because we have amazing mountain biking trails, and
You're surrounded by nature, Mother Earth.
Nature. I live on a lake. I have a ski boat. I can go out and water ski.
Can I come over and visit you?
Anytime. You're welcome.
Well, that's the reason why I asked you this, guys. I mean, my channel is also all about, body, mind, soul. It's not just the spiritual stuff, but it's about nutrition and wellness and your health and workout. And look at her, she does everything. Physically, she works out all the time. Even if she's in 60, she looks great. She's healthy. I mean, and she also nutrition, she eats clean. And this is where my journey also began, since I got COVID pneumonia. Even though I used to work out a lot, my food's just, never been focused on how important it is. Now I am. So I'm so happy to hear you talk about this. We didn't plan. Yes, this is so amazing that we happen to be talking about this, where we have to look at what's in the food, because I think that causes a lot of allergies as well to all of us. We're not healthy at all. And our lifestyles are not, not really gear ourselves to take care of our body, our food, and our mind. And you also do healing works. You meditate. Body, mind, soul. She does all that, and she's going to be a perfect therapist. I mean, homeopath therapist for anyone. Now, Carole, it's a lot of work you have to do when your client first comes to you. What is the cost for all this? Some people go, well, it sounds like a lot. Is it something that people can manage to, so they can have a healthy immune system when they come to you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's cost effective. If you put your body in balance, it's able to heal itself. You're not spending tons of money on doctor's visits, tests that your insurance doesn't cover, drugs. I mean, I went to an ophthalmologist and my eyes were dry, and she wrote me a prescription for eye drops. Even at Costco, it was more than $800.
What? Out of your pocket?
Not that I bought them, because I have ways to take care of them.
Yes.
So anyway, I think that it's very affordable for people to come and see me at this time. And I don't know how long this video will run, so the price may change, but the initial consultation is $500. And that takes hours and hours of my time. Beyond the consultation itself, which is usually at least 3 hours, I put a lot of research time and effort into it. So that's what I charge. And then from that point on, there are follow-up visits, which the price for those is based on how long the visit goes or whatever. And if somebody is very needy and has to contact me a lot in between, then I charge minimal amount for answering emails, phone calls. You wouldn't believe how long it takes to write an email answering things.
It's a lot of work.
I'm-
It's a lot of, yeah.
Just
And
in
you
whole
you are very
summer,
detailed. You're a very detailed person. That's why, you spend time. You want to make sure that you do the best for your clients. I mean,
Yeah.
from hearing from you.
Speaking about my clients, do you think it would be helpful for people if I talked about a few cases so they can really get an idea about?
Sure. Please do. Go ahead and share. Yes.
Well, we talked about traumatic brain injury before.
Yeah.
And so there I had two people who were hit by a truck on a highway. They were doing a charity bike ride. They both happened to be in one of the cycling clubs that I belonged to. And so they were hit by a truck and just left for dead in the highway. And they were airlifted to, I think it was County USC Hospital in LA, and were hospitalized for, I think they were both in there about a week or 2 weeks, not
Wow.
really sure. So 6 years after the incident, one of them came to me and he had been hit by this truck just above his left hip. And what had happened initially, there was like a big thing of blood, like a big cyst of blood there. And so it slowly drained of the blood, and it wasn't still there as much. But what happened when the tissue gets crushed like that, it doesn't heal properly. No, it doesn't matter if your hand gets smashed by a big rock or you get hit by a car, a crush injury just never heals properly. So even though there was no bone involved in this particular case, he was constantly in pain. And whenever he tried to ride his bike or do any other kind of exercise, it would get very inflamed and it would swell, and more scar tissue would form intermixed with the muscle tissue. So he got a huge lump. It looked like he had a papoose on his hip.
I totally got that, because that's my work. Yeah. So yeah.
You understand.
Oh yes, I can totally picture that.
He told me he went to 5 orthopedic surgeons and they all told him he had compartment syndrome and that he had to stop working out. If he was lucky, maybe some of the scar tissue might go away. And they told him there was nothing else that could be done for it. So he came to me, and I really put a lot of thought into this case because I have remedies that make scar tissue go away, but he had had a lot of surgeries and I needed to be sure that the scar tissue that had formed from the surgeries that was beneficial was not going to go away either. So at first I said, I'm not really sure I should try to help you with this, but he really wanted to. So
yeah,
I gave him a remedy that was for a traumatic physical injury, basically. And I gave it in a very high potency. And when he took it, he was getting ready for bed one night. And so his wife told me that she watched him take the remedy and they were talking. And since he was getting ready for bed, he had no clothes on. She said that she physically saw the lump decrease in size over a period of an hour and a half.
Wow.
And it decreased to about half its size. And then he came back and was so excited to show me. Well, that night, for the first time in months, he slept through the night, and he woke up the next morning, got on his bike for the first time in many months.
That's
And
beautiful.
He rode 25 miles. He had no pain. From that point on, after he took the remedy, he had no more pain. And I had him repeat the remedy 2 times. And then I didn't see him for like 2.5 years. And when I did see him, it was completely gone. There was no evidence that it had ever been there. And
Amazing.
his orthopedist, when he went back to him, did not believe that it had happened. So
with what you just shared, Carole, through my work, I've seen a lot of scar tissue and inflammation. So you mentioned earlier you have remedies for scar tissue. Is that correct? Because that's huge. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people who have injuries, fall accident, and even surgery, scar tissue is a huge culprit that causes a lot of tightness and imbalance in the body, as well as inflammation. So you have remedies for those too? Is that what it is?
Yes, I have remedies where a healthy person taking that remedy, or the thing the remedy was made from, would develop scar tissue of some type. And when they have that and you give them a remedy made from the scars, it can go away.
Wow.
If everything else fits, the mental, emotional, everything.
That's amazing. Now, what about those? Because there's a lot of people who have all kinds of surgeries, Carole, even like plastic surgery, breast implants. A lot of ladies have that, BBL, gastric, whatever, and tend to cause scar in the system. Would you recommend them doing this remedy?
I think they would need to do a consult with their physician and see what their doctor says before they went to homeopath, and make sure the homeopath really has a good understanding of their condition before they treat it.
Okay, because oftentimes they tend to have scar tissue, from what I understand. That's what I was wondering.
Well, let me give you another example. A lot of times after having a cesarean birth, I myself, when my daughter was born, I had to have a C-section, and developed a lot of, what do you call them? Adhesions.
Yes.
And so I took a homeopathic remedy for that. And it was just like, once I took it, never again had them. So they just—
Amazing. That's huge to me. That's huge. Last question. Inflammation.
Oh, there's a lot for inflammation. So
inflammation is huge in my work. Inflammation.
Yes, there is really a lot you can do for inflammation, but there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of homeopathic remedies that have inflammation as part of their remedy picture. So that's where you have to take a very detailed case and really figure out that person's personality and how they think and everything, and find the right remedy for them. But definitely that is something that I see probably more than anything else, like you, because it's rampant in our,
right,
in our society. So
is there such a thing as wrong remedy? Because you mentioned about right remedy.
Well, a wrong remedy would be one that has no effect.
Ah, gotcha.
There, you can also take a remedy that is close and you get partial healing, but
Ah, I see. So pretty much with the homeopath remedy, this is pretty safe. This is actually better for the body. It actually helps with the immune system as well,
it
I would
helps.
assume.
Yes, when the proper remedy, best match is chosen, it can do amazing things. I've
Now,
seen amazing things. I was going to tell you about the other guy who was hit by that truck. He had a very bad traumatic brain injury. Before the accident, he was a carpenter and he did custom cabinets and fine finished carpentry. 6.5 years after the accident, when the other guy referred him to me, he had not been able to work. He had tried to go back to work, but he couldn't do the simple calculations.
wow,
His memory was shot. He couldn't even remember doing a kitchen project for the other guy.
wow,
He would get lost when he went to work. He couldn't find his office or
wow.
anything, so he had to stop working. And so for him, I think it was the third remedy we tried, completely reversed all of that and just left him in a really, really good place. And I knew him before the accident. And honestly, after taking the remedy, his confidence was way higher.
Wow.
It was really, that was one of the most gratifying cases I've ever worked with, because
That's
I
amazing.
saw his life change so much for the better.
Well, God, it's because of your work. This is amazing that you have studied this. I mean, for such a long time that you have studied this. I mean, this has coming to help so many people, Carole, and not having to take all this dangerous medication. I know I said last question before, but I have one more last question. Kind of, well, we can talk this for hours, because the more you share, the more question pops up. I'm sure that happened to a lot of listeners as well. You listen to her and you're like, oh my God, what about this? What about that? Just like myself, and
Right.
because when you share about your friend, of course, he's probably have to go through like antibiotics, a lot of it. And the same as myself, that I have to take so much antibiotics when I got my COVID pneumonia. And that's pretty much wiped out all my minerals and vitamins in my body. I felt weak, fatigue for a long time. How's that do with this? Have you worked with patients?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. So
That's
you know,
huge, antibiotics, huge.
flora, your gut flora is so important. It's as important as your brain, pretty much. In fact, a lot of people call it the second brain,
Yeah.
because even the chemicals that your brain uses to communicate with other parts of your body are produced by your gut, from the biome that lives there. I always think of our bodies as being multiple universes,
Yes.
because most of the DNA that's found in your body isn't even yours. It belongs to the whole biome that's in there, even viruses, bacteria, fungi, everything. So it's really important to keep that all in balance. And it's hard when you're taking a Western medicine treatment and allopathic treatment, because everything is designed to kill or destroy. And there's not a single cell in your body that only has one function.
Yeah.
So if you kill something in your body, it's going to have a big, effect all over.
Yeah.
So for people who have gut dysbiosis from antibiotics or whatever, Oh yeah, I have a number of ways that I can help them to reverse that and to feel
Awesome.
healthy. And it is an important thing along COVID because especially the people who had COVID initially, doctors were really in the dark about how to treat it.
Oh God, yes.
It was a whole new thing.
I
And
was told by many doctors they didn't know how to help me. This is way back in 2020. So imagine, you know, you're right about that. They couldn't help me.
right, right.
Wow,
So,
Carole, that's amazing. I mean, you got me excited listening to all this stuff that you can help so many people. I'm gonna knock on your door and get your help with that too. So, and I got some people that I can actually, share your information because I think I see the thing is that's why I invite you to talk about this because seriously, sometimes I mean we heard about it, we heard about homeopath, it's good for you, natural to you, but we didn't have this hour to listen, to how important it is. And as you share all this stuff, it's just like wow, this could be the answer for a lot of things. You can help so many people with this, and I think that it's a beautiful thing that we actually talk about this. Amazing.
yeah, I mean, it's a cheap way to go. And I'm always looking
Long
for,
way too. This is long term because
yeah,
without your good health, money is not important anymore because you cannot even. I remember the time that I was in bed 24/7 for 6 months. I didn't even think if I couldn't work. I didn't think anything. I didn't care about. You can't do anything. You can't enjoy life. You're just like a no energy, dead body. I mean, to me, I take health over everything, anything, and that's what I learned from my personal experience. And this is why I search for, like, I get back into like whole food nutrition, like you said. I work
yeah,
out. I back to my workout a lot too.
for you.
Yes,
For you.
and getting into meditation more, into bringing balance in all aspect of my life, like you. Last word, Carole. Would you like to just say to the audience about homeopath remedy and your work? I'm going to put her information, guys, in the
Okay.
description. You're going to get all her bio, her background, her contact. Go to her. She's real thing because I know her for a long time. And my God, I didn't know you studied way back in the 90s. You got a lot of stuff behind your belt here.
I do. Well, for people who want to know more about homeopathy, Timothy Dooley, who is a naturopathic doctor and an MD medical doctor, and studied homeopathy with one of my great teachers, Will Taylor. Timothy's written this book, and it's called Homeopathy Beyond Flat Earth Medicine.
Pick up that
And
book.
so
I'm going to list it too.
write that down, pick up this book, and it will tell you from the perspective of a medical doctor, an MD, why he uses homeopathy in his practice instead of allopathic pharmaceuticals. And he does a really good job of introducing what homeopathy is and the history behind it. And I always actually ask people to read this before they come for their first appointment. And
can you send a name and just send me a name? I'll link to the Amazon for you guys. So people come, look in the description, click the link. That's it. You get the book. Sounds good.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Carole, for being here and share this amazing topic on homeopath remedy. I learned so much today. I cannot even believe that just by talking. And it just get me excited because I already know some people that I can send to you who really need help. So exactly the problem that we talk about. These are an important subject that we cover, really, the area that most people have problem with. This is such a common symptom and problem most people have. So guys, you enjoyed this video, please share her video with everyone, your family and friends who have problem with allergies or anything. She can help you out. Click like, subscribe if you're new here first time. I would like to thank you for being here. Post any comments you have. You have any questions to Carole, post it, anything. So guys, until next video, thank you so much. Carole, thank you for being here and share this beautiful work. We'll talk again. I'm gonna have another one of her video, guys. This one, not only she is a homeopath practitioner or healer, she also does another type of healing, and she was taught directly by Dolores Canyon, world famous hypnotherapist that everybody talks about. Amazing work. She's a direct student, study directly with her in Los Angeles here. And we're gonna she's gonna talk about it in the next video, guys. So tune in. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.